Preventing Armageddon. NASA prepares to nuke a dangerous asteroid or dangerous asteroids. Potentially hazardous asteroid is to swing by Earth and have a close encounter with us. It's going to be the Apophis asteroid, which will be definitely swinging closer to us than our satellites are. And that will be on Friday, the 13th of April, 2029. Or is it 28? Anyway, around there. The recent asteroid preparedness exercise, the drill that they had that finished last Friday, that took place in Maryland, had the hypothetical asteroid impact coming towards Earth, a hazardous asteroid approaching Earth, supposedly on April 28th of 2027. It reminds us of the dates, April of the Apophis asteroid, and 2027 as opposed to 2028 or 29. And they were supposed to mitigate it, somehow stop it. And they had all these space agencies together. They had NASA, they had the European Space Agency, they had Japan, they had various other formal officials and FEMA and government agencies working together on this. They started with a 1% probability of a strike. It was supposed to be initially calculated to strike over Denver, Colorado, and they supposedly sent up a spaceship to cut it, to nuke it, to destroy it and push it out, and that was done, but a piece came off and slammed New York City. So they failed the drill. The drill failed because it slammed, a piece came off slamming New York City, which is of course a city of over 12 million people. And that was a disaster, obviously. And not only that, but according to law, that means that the country that did that would have to pay damages, liability damages, personal liability, property loss, and everything else that goes with it, to the people that are affected by this damage. I guess it's similar to when a tugboat brings in a ship to a port. If the tugboat does something bad and the ship gets into an accident, the tugboat company has to pay for the damages. So they failed. And the thing is that we do have Apophis coming in, and there are also other things that take place. We have heavenly celestial bodies that come in that we don't even know are out there. And sometimes they just discover them a day or two before they come towards us, or they don't discover them at all, like the example of the Chelyabinsk that exploded over Russia, that nobody saw coming, and their excuse was that it was coming out of behind the sun. So anyway, this is a very exciting subject because it's a real thing, and I think that as the dates approach, a lot of countries must get together, put differences aside, get together and protect Earth and humanity from something like this, because it's a very not only does this happen very often, but it's also prophecy. It's also prophecy in Revelations 8:8. But we saw, if you see the videos before this one and on Sodom and Gomorrah, and I just learned something very exciting having to do with the asteroid that hit Sodom and Gomorrah about 5,000 years ago. That must have been the same asteroid that they found remnants of in southwest Egypt that we did a couple of videos back, that the geologists and astronomers found from looking at Google Earth. And they went to the location and found that it was an asteroid strike, an impact crater. The same thing in Iraq. And that all these things struck and also gave rise to volcanic eruptions because they melt the atmosphere, they boil the atmosphere as they come in. And who knows what other bodies they bring in with them as they break up, entering the Earth's atmosphere. It could be that it's just not just one body, maybe a group of bodies. Like we have, for example, now, as we're going through the remnants of Halley's Comet, and we're having these, I think Sunday would have been 40 an hour 40 an hour raining onto Earth. So yeah, sometimes you go through the tails of something that was there. So that's what obviously changed the climate of the whole of Northern Africa, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq. You know, which was full of lush forests and rivers and lakes. It just evaporates the lakes and the rivers, turns everything, as we see here, you're going to see later on, sorry, the video before this one, there was absolutely nothing left as far as vegetation or anything alive once the brimstone came down from the Lord of the heavens. So the Genesis 19:24 says it came down from the Lord of the heavens. It wasn't a volcanic eruption, it came down from the heavens. So now they have to do something. All these technologies that they have in the world as arsenals, military arsenals, perhaps they should turn it towards fighting celestial, dangerous, hazardous celestial bodies that would destroy life on Earth, period. So they have to prevent Armageddon, obviously. NASA prepares to nuke a dangerous asteroid. This is on Sputnik News, with the chances of a huge asteroid hitting Earth, wiping out the human race, looking unnervingly real, NASA and the National Nuclear Security Administration, NNSA, put their heads together to develop a new spacecraft. And the aim of that new spacecraft is to deflect a potentially deadly space boulder heading towards our planet. Deflect it, push it out of its trajectory, bang it, nudge it, not to pull it, but to push it out, or to perhaps even disintegrate it, depending on what material it's made out of, because maybe they're not all made out of the same material. So it's not going to help just sending spaceships up there and collecting samples when there may be, others may be icy bodies, other may be made out of diamond. So you can't, anyway, going on to this. Aptly called HAMMER, for short, Hypervelocity Asteroid Mitigation Mission for Emergency Response, HAMMER. The new spacecraft would either collide with an incoming asteroid to change its course away from Earth, or blow it up with a nuclear weapon, technology weblog Extreme Tech wrote. Well, the colliding with it to change the trajectory, to change its course, is what they're going to do in 2 or 3 years when they send up the DART spacecraft going to the Didymus, the twin asteroids. One big, they're not really twins because they don't look like each other. One is huge and the other one is about a quarter of the size. And they're going to take the one that's a quarter of the size and try and impound it, smash into it, and in order to change the path significantly. And that will be a sort of an experiment, a test run of the real thing. And they'll sort of figure out what went well, what went wrong, and try and fix their methods of doing so. So as part of the effort, NASA sent the OSIRIS-REx probe to a near-Earth asteroid called Bennu to collect a 2.1-ounce sample from its surface, bring it back to Earth later this year. Calculating the probe's trajectory from the hypothetical HAMMER mission, the researchers determined that there is a tiny 1 in 2,700 chance that Bennu could collide with our planet in 2035. So it's not just Apophis that has the chance of colliding, it's also Bennu that has 7 years later, 7 years later, has a chance of hitting us. So hitting Earth, this 1,600-foot, 74 billion pound Bennu would produce a 1.15 gigaton explosion, which is about 23 times larger than the most powerful hydrogen bomb ever detonated, and still only a fraction of the biggest asteroid out there. It's traveling at 22,000 miles an hour. The 8.8-ton HAMMER would still be unable to generate enough punch to nudge Bennu, even a relatively small amount, of course, and Bennu is a relatively small asteroid. Now, NASA specialists believe that they would have to blow up a whole fleet of Hammer spacecraft in order to slow down this asteroid and change its path towards the Sun. In the event of a failure to deflect the asteroid early on, the nuclear version of Hammer is also available, with current US nuclear weapons powerful enough to knock an incoming Bennu-sized asteroid off course. Now, the potentially hazardous asteroid that is to swing by Earth during the close encounter, again on Sputnik, and it's asteroid 217VR12, which is about the size of the Empire State Building, will flash its pearly whites between late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, coming with an estimated 900,000 miles from Earth. So you get those telescopes ready. This article was written June of last year. This gigantic, of course, potentially hazardous asteroid heading our way, weather permitting, budding astronomers will be able to spot the not-so-little fellow with a backyard telescope. Traveling at the speed of 14,000 miles per hour, the asteroid will be most observable around 11. Okay, there go, we saw that. Now, although NASA has identified the asteroid as potentially hazardous, officials have indicated that it does not pose any threat to Earth since it's at a distance of roughly 3 times farther than our moon. And according to NASA's calculation, another 177 years will pass before the asteroid comes near Earth again for another quick hello. Asteroid 217VR12 was first discovered November 10th, 2017 by the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii, and interested stargazers and star fanatics would have had the glimpse of it traveling by tuning into virtual telescope projects, which had the live coverage. Now, the reality of the fact is that even though these asteroid Earth protection drills have been going on for at least 6 to 8 years, they have always, and supposedly you learn from one drill to another, they take place every 2 years in a different city. In 2 years, in 2021, they'll take place somewhere in Europe, I think in, I can't remember, anyway, someplace in Switzerland, if I remember correctly. Now, they haven't learned anything. They have not improved their methods of destroying the asteroids and protecting Earth. They have always failed, always. I think there was one part in Japan when they had 2 meetings ago, when they had their, from what they said, they had their trial, their exercise in Japan. They destroyed the asteroid, but then the politicians squabbled so much, something happened, and it was a disaster. I don't know what happened. Anyway, the other thing is that with this drill that happened, it was a disaster. Why? Because the piece that was cut off the asteroid that they blew up, that was supposed to be heading to Denver, the piece that came off hit New York City, and they could not evacuate fast enough. And, how would you evacuate 12 million people from Manhattan and Long Island to get them onto the mainland? That's physically impossible. Logistically, it's physically impossible. So they failed. And what can you do? They keep failing all the time. The thing is that they have to have an international body. Everybody has to put in money, get their brightest minds in there, and make sure that in a couple of years they know how to take care of these space bodies that are coming into us. This is the number one priority. This is bigger than anything, I think. Perhaps you should take monies from their defense packages and put it into something like this, because this happens once in a while. It's a reality. Okay, so I'll leave links below for you for this on Sputnik, and in a little while I'm going to have a video prepared concerning the Sodom and Gomorrah asteroid, that the angels of God told Lot to leave because God would destroy those cities, and he did. And it seems like it was the part of a group of heavenly celestial rocks that were coming in, pounding all of North Africa, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and changing the weather to drying up. It was these rocks even boiled the atmospheres that were coming in, boiling and hitting the earth, causing earthquakes, causing volcanic eruptions, causing evaporation of lakes and rivers, turning everything that was green, everything, even the plants, as let me read it again for you. Wait, let me pull it up again. Genesis 19:24. Okay, let me see. It's slow because I have so many tabs open, but what can I do? Okay. Genesis 19:24. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Then the Lord rained down brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he destroyed these cities and the entire plain, including all the inhabitants of the cities and everything that grew on the ground. Okay? The brimstone rained and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. The Lord rained down brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. It wasn't like fire coming out of the ground, coming up onto the ground. It rained down from the skies, from the Lord out of the heavens. In other words, the Lord gave the order and did that, out of the heavens. Thus he destroyed the cities and the entire plain, the entire areas. Because, they used to have they used to farm outside of the cities. Their farming was outside of the cities, and at night they would come into the cities and live there, close the gates so that the enemies wouldn't come in, okay? And then in the morning they would go out again to their farms, to the plains. So he destroyed the cities and the entire plain, including all the inhabitants and of the cities, and everything that grew on the ground. Okay, so we're going to have another very interesting thing having to do with archaeology, anthropology, the Old Testament, geological change, earth-changing events, astronomy, and from what the ancient Egyptian priests told Solon, who told Plato, these events take place on Earth very often. In fact, these things have caused the Earth to shift and tilt 180 degrees, making the sun rise from the west, setting in the east, instead of the sun rising as we know it today, rising in the east and setting in the west. And even all the stars in heaven changed position. So this happens quite often. And only a few people are left alive every time to resettle the earth. So this is very important because of the fact that it's prophecy. So I'll leave links below for you for this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition, and the community around our church. Thank you.